Welcome to a world where holiday cheer turns into chilling fear, where the twinkling lights cast eerie shadows, and the sound of carols sends shivers down your spine. Prepare yourself for 3 spine-tingling, true holiday horror stories that will make you think twice about celebrating. We'll delve into the darkest corners of the season, where festive joy gives way to unspeakable terror. These are the stories that lurk beneath the surface of holiday cheer, the ones that will haunt your nightmares long after the decorations are put away. The Thompson family rented a charming cabin deep in the woods for Christmas. They had been looking forward to this trip for months, hoping to escape the hustle and bustle of city life and enjoy some quality family time in nature. John, Mary and their children, Emily and Ethan, were eager for a holiday escape. They packed their car with all the essentials, including warm clothes, board games and plenty of food for their stay. But the cabin felt cold and unwelcoming. Despite the festive decorations and the cozy fireplace, there was an eerie atmosphere that none of them could shake off. As they settled in, strange occurrences began. It started with small things like the sound of footsteps when no one was walking and the feeling of being watched. Whispers from the walls, shadows at the edge of their vision. The whispers were faint, almost like a distant conversation that they couldn't quite make out. Emily claimed to see a man watching from the woods. She described him as tall and shadowy, with eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. Mary dismissed it, thinking it was just Emily's imagination running wild, but John felt a growing sense of dread. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. One evening, Mary found an old journal hidden in the kitchen. It was dusty and worn, as if it had been there for many years. It chronicled horrifying events from decades earlier. The entries were filled with fear and desperation, detailing the experiences of a family who had once stayed in the same cabin. A woman wrote of her husband driven mad, leading to a gruesome tragedy. The more Mary read, the more she realized that their current experiences mirrored those described in the journal. The final entry was on Christmas Eve, the night they were in the cabin. It spoke of a malevolent presence that had taken hold of the family, driving them to madness and despair. Panic surged through Mary and she shared the discovery with John. They both knew they had to leave, but the question was how. They decided to leave immediately, but the supernatural activity intensified. It was as if the cabin itself was trying to keep them there. Doors slammed, objects flew and the temperature plummeted. The once cozy cabin had turned into a nightmarish prison. They were trapped, unable to escape. Every attempt to leave was thwarted by an unseen force. Emily and Ethan clung to their parents in fear. They could sense the danger, even if they didn't fully understand it. John searched for a way out, but every exit was blocked. Windows wouldn't budge, and the doors seemed to lock themselves. The entity had them trapped, toying with them. It seemed to feed off their fear, growing stronger with each passing moment. As the night reached its peak, John and Mary made a desperate plea for their children's lives. They begged the entity to let their children go, offering themselves in exchange. The Thompson family vanished without a trace, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. To this day, the cabin remains empty, a silent witness to the horrors that unfolded within its walls. 5 friends huddled around a campfire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. It was New Year's Eve, and they were seeking adventure in the remote woodland, far from the bustling city life. Jake, Emily, Ben, Sophia and Chris shared stories as the night deepened, their laughter echoing through the trees. But as the hours passed, strange sounds began to fill the air, and an unsettling feeling of being watched crept in. Ben, an avid photographer, was snapping pictures when he noticed a shadowy figure in the background of his photos. The next morning they discovered that some of their supplies had mysteriously gone missing, adding to their growing unease. Fear began to spread through the group like wildfire, each of them feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. One evening, as they sat around the campfire, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, sending chills down their spines. Sophia, her voice trembling, pointed to a figure standing just at the edge of the firelight, barely visible in the darkness. Panic surged through the group as the figure remained motionless, its presence an ominous threat. Jake tried to rationalize, suggesting it might be another camper, but deep down they all knew something was terribly wrong. They called out to the figure, their voices shaky and filled with fear, but it remained silent, unmoving. Then, without warning, the figure turned and melted into the darkness, leaving them paralyzed with terror. They huddled together, their hearts pounding, unable to sleep as the night stretched on endlessly. At the first light of dawn, they packed their belongings frantically, their only thought to escape the unseen terror. They ran through the woods, the sense of dread following them with every step, desperate to leave the nightmare behind. What was meant to be a peaceful retreat had turned into a harrowing nightmare, one they would never forget. As they reached the safety of their cars, they vowed never to return to those woods again. Their bond, once forged by friendship, was now marked by the terror they had experienced together. It was a chilling reminder that the wilderness holds secrets best left undisturbed, secrets that can turn a simple camping trip into a haunting memory. The mall bustled with Black Friday shoppers, but Sarah felt a growing sense of unease. The crowds had thinned out, and the once lively chatter had faded into an eerie silence. Her shift at a jewelry kiosk was supposed to end hours ago. She had been looking forward to going home, but her replacement never showed up. The once vibrant atmosphere gave way to eerie silence. The festive decorations now seemed to mock her, their cheerful colours contrasting sharply with the dread she felt. The fluorescent lights cast unsettling shadows. Every flicker seemed to bring the darkness closer, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Christmas jingles took on a sinister tone. The familiar melodies now sounded distorted, as if they were being played on a broken record. A sudden noise from the back of the store made her jump. She spun around, her heart racing, but saw nothing. The silence that followed was even more unnerving. She noticed the security camera pointed directly at her kiosk. It had been there all night, but now it felt like an ominous eye, watching her every move. Someone had been watching her. Fear gripped her heart. She felt exposed, vulnerable, as if the walls were closing in on her. She dialed security, but the line went dead. Panic set in as she realized she was truly alone. The phone slipped from her trembling hands. She was alone in the deserted mall. The vast emptiness seemed to swallow her whole, amplifying her fear. She decided to make her way to the security office. Each step echoed loudly, the sound bouncing off the walls and heightening her anxiety. A figure stood at the end of the hallway. It was barely visible, shrouded in darkness, but its presence was unmistakable. Sarah called out, but the figure remained silent. The silence was deafening, and her voice seemed to be swallowed by the darkness. It turned its head, and she saw cold, calculating eyes. They seemed to pierce through her, freezing her in place. She turned and ran, her heart pounding. The sound of her footsteps echoed through the empty corridors, a frantic rhythm that matched her racing pulse. The mall had become a labyrinth of shadows and fear. Every turn seemed to lead her deeper into the darkness, and she couldn't find her way out. She reached the main entrance and fumbled with the lock. Her hands were shaking and she could barely see through her tears. A hand shot out from the darkness, gripping her arm. The touch was cold and unyielding, sending a jolt of terror through her. Sarah was never seen again, a terrifying truth that would forever stain the festive cheer of the holiday season. Her disappearance became a chilling legend, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind even the brightest lights. Thank you for joining us in these dark tales of holiday horror. We've journeyed into the heart of darkness, where festive cheer gives way to unspeakable terror, and the most wonderful time of year becomes a breeding ground for fear. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more chilling stories. Let us know in the comments which story chilled you to the bone, and share your own spine-tingling encounters. Remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that are true. So, as you gather with loved ones and revel in the holiday spirit, keep a watchful eye out for the shadows, for you never know what may be lurking just beyond the glow of the Christmas lights.